So being a black conservative and being a black Republican are actually different. There are plenty of black folks who are conservative who vote Democrat. But if you are condoning or dismissing the racism in the Republican Party, that's an issue. But Herschel Walker is not a free thinker, not a trap thinker or anything like that. It's not about being a free thinker or whatever. I don't use the word coon brother. I don't do it. Karen Hunter don't do it. Roland Martin don't do it. I don't use that kind of language. I don't call somebody Uncle Tom. I hate that kind of language, so I don't do that. But if you are upholding white supremacy, that's the problem. So I think it's really an insult to black conservatives, Jasper, that you're even saying that it's okay for Herschel Walker to use racially charged language straight from the antebellum South as a black man from Georgia or Texas, who knows. I don't think that's cool. Final comment. Go ahead, Jasper.
I'm not trying to say that it's okay, but what I'm saying is y'all lead the charge when it comes to this language. That's it.
No, don't say y'all lead the charge, Jasper. I don't lead the charge. I don't know who called him that. What do you mean by y'all lead the charge? What do you mean by that?
I'm not going to say you. What I'm saying is that when I listen to the radio and I'm hearing people say, everybody that's your color ain't your kind. This coming from a black person, just because another black person thinks differently, come on, like, we got to stop that talk. If we're going to
brother, it's not a matter of thinking differently. It's a matter of, are you supporting policies that hurt black people? So let's talk about you for a minute. You're in Texas. Do you support the John Lewis Voting Rights Act?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, that's a problem that you don't support the Voting Rights Act. What does the John Lewis Voting Rights Act do?
Okay, so let me say this. I'm for, there's some parts of the bill that I'm for, there's some parts I'm not for.
What does the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act do?
It's trying to allow people to vote from the House, basically, period.
No, it's not. Wrong. Let's go to, let me see here, Jasper from Houston, first-time caller. What's up, Jasper?
What's up, Clay? Hey, how you doing, man? Hey, I love the show, man. I'm a black conservative from Houston. I just want to say, you know, Herschel Walker, he said he's proud of being cool. Okay, he's really trying to say that he don't mind being different. I mean, you got to understand, a lot of the hate that comes from a black person being a conservative doesn't come from the whites. It comes from black liberals and black Democrats. You know, y'all lead the charge when it comes to a black person being targeted just because they don't want to think or they don't want to follow the masses.
Jasper, no. First of all, saying that you're okay being different is much different than calling yourself a derogatory slur. That's like saying, I'm proud to be a jigaboo, or I'm proud to be a porch monkey. So, that's just categorically just not true. And there are plenty of black conservatives, like Michael Steele, like Senator Edward Brooke of Massachusetts, the first black Republican elected to the first one elected to the U.S. Senate, Colin Powell. So to say that Herschel Walker is in any way, shape, or form aligned with actual, real black conservatives is just not. It's just, this cat is just ridiculous. And I don't think that Herschel Walker is an independent thinker. I don't think he's a thinker. And that has nothing to do with him being black. But what I do think is wrong is when anybody uses terms like get off the Democratic plantation, or acts like it's a high-tech lynching, as Clarence Thomas said. It remains to be seen if people who will shame this is a man, Jasper, who was talking about fatherlessness in the black community.
All right, I misheard you then. But I want to say for black men, we got time to give the black men something to show us that, you know, you really want our votes, because we need to, people need to sacrifice in life for the next generation. You can't have things easy and things change. They're giving nothing. And the last time when everybody was like, vote for Biden, vote for Biden.
Wait, hold on 1 second. You said the Biden administration, let's just talk about Biden. The Biden-Harris administration is giving nothing to black men. There's been no policies for black men. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that Ice Cube, we were behind Ice Cube, even though he competitions with people that were bringing things to the table.
No, Jamel. Ice Cube is not an elected official. So let's just pause him for a minute saying about Ice Cube. Are you saying that the Biden-Harris administration has had no policies for you? You said that they gave us nothing. Is that what you're saying?
Nothing that we wanted. And Carly B isn't a politician either. And that's who.
But there has been some wins. There just has been some wins under the Biden-Harris administration. But if that isn't enough for you, that's your prerogative, que sera, sera. But I would encourage you, for whatever things that really matter to you, do a simple Google search and just find, okay, here are some wins, and then make a critical decision after that. You know, but I really don't advocate anybody not voting. I really, really don't. And there's only but, I mean, you saying he should pressure Joe Manchin more. I mean, one could say that Trump should have, if you're a Republican, Trump should have pressured John McCain more. I mean, they're doing what they want to do. But you don't see Trump losing his followers. So yeah, Michael. But go ahead, brother. One more final comment, because I'm a nice guy.
Okay, so the student loan, my wife is a nurse. She has $25,000 in student loan. So specific people are getting student loan relief, not across the board. Secondly,
I didn't say across the board.
And she will, if she's working for a public hospital, she will get relief. It may not be a day. I don't know how long she's been working, but she will get relief.
Yeah, I didn't say everybody. Like, you're putting words in my mouth. You're acting like I'm talking in absolutes. 30 seconds.
Student loan across the board without making a point that is targeted. And secondly, if Democrats are doing what they're supposed to do, why are people from the middle class down in this country getting poorer and poorer and poorer? I'll let you
Because we have a structural underpinning of poverty in this country. And, you know, we can't expect Biden to fix that in 3 years. And we also do have a GOP that every time they get into power, they destroy the economy. That's happened 3 times in a row. But, you know, when your wife gets her student loan debt forgiven, I hope you'll give me a call. But I think even if that happens, you'll still say, I'm not sure if I'm going to vote. But that's okay, Mr. Michael. Thank you for calling in, brother. Good luck. Okay, let's go to Jamel from Virginia. What's up, Jamel?
Yes, what's up? Good afternoon, Clay and Reese.
Hey.
All right. Yeah, this isn't against you, Clay, but we're not. I mean, black men ain't gonna follow Robert De Niro. The ones that might vote.
That's not what I said.
That ain't me. Yeah, excuse me.
But Jamel, I didn't even say what you talking. I said he was talking to his people. I didn't even say that. What you mean?
No, I thought you said that the black men didn't follow Karen Hunter. They didn't follow you. Maybe they'll listen to Robert.
No. The Republicans he's talking to, they ain't listening to Reese and I. They ain't listening to Karen Hunter or Roland Martin. They think we're just loud, angry black people. You know what I'm saying? They think, no, I said the exact opposite. I like that he's people. That's your people.
Okay, all right. We just see it differently. I feel like there is no pressure that he puts on senators and or congressmen pertaining to calling them out when they're not trying to push specific agendas forward. Again, they do just enough to keep the status quo, which is not good enough for anyone. Even middle-class Americans are actually suffering right now. So, yeah, I'm just disgusted with the Democratic Party in general.
Well, did you see the union? Did you see the union actually endorsed Joe Biden last week? Something that was monumental when the union came out and said that Joe Biden is the only person behind the working class, the UAW, which was a large group of people who were working class, middle class, where the middle class jobs were. Did you see Build Back Better passed in Congress? So you don't vote
that one didn't pass. That one didn't pass. It was the American Rescue Act and the
American Rescue
Chips and Science Act.
Parts of it, anyway, parts of the infrastructure bill passed. Was the first infrastructure bill passed in I guess 6 years. So if you look at what he has been able to do in the time that he's been able to do it, you can't say that he hasn't done anything.
You know, Michael, let me just say this to you, then I'll give you a final comment. I think I could give you the whole list. You're a new listener to the show. I mean, I can give you a whole list of some really great things that have been done. But I think what's challenging, Michael, is that, you know, one of the big things, I'll just give you one that's really important to me, is the amount of loans going to black-owned businesses. I mean, it's doubled since 2020 under the Small Business Administration. The American Rescue Act, the infrastructure bill, the advocacy around black maternal health, and so on. The funding for HBCUs, $7 billion, you know, and so on. So I think he's done some good stuff. But I think what's challenging, Michael, is that I think it's okay to be critical. But the issue with Democrats is that they don't even know how to celebrate their wins. Like, it appears you don't know the good stuff that's happened. I don't know if you care about student loan relief. Maybe you don't. But we do have to know how to celebrate our wins and offer critique when critique is necessary for his first term. So I'm not saying that.
But you would agree in general across the board, that's the argument that's being made, is that the other guy is worse.
Well, you asked me the argument that I'm making, so you pointed out me. So I'm saying JUSTFORME, the signing of the grift, the downward spiral of black Republicans from the party of Lincoln to the cult of Trump. But don't go anywhere, because this is the best of our most memorable callers. And if you made this best of, it's all you. Let's go to Michael from Boston. First time caller. What's up, Michael?
Hi, good afternoon. The argument that you and, from what I hear, most Democrats are making for voting for Joe Biden is, you're not saying this outright, but in essence, what you're leading to is, yeah, I suck, but the other guy is worse.
No, I'm not saying that. I don't think Joe Biden sucks at all. I think Joe Biden is actually really great. So I'm not saying that. Other folks might say, oh, the lesser of the two evils line. But no, I think Joe Biden has done a solid job, a really good job as president. Where do you live?
I live in South Carolina now. Moved to South Carolina, where, you know, the crazy Republican guy is Scott. That's
right. And who are your two senators in South Carolina?
Listen, Clay, I'm not going to go through this with you.
I'm asking you a question. Who are your two senators in South Carolina?
I'm not going to go through this with you. This is a tactic that I'm not going to go through.
It's not a tactic. I'm asking you if you're. I want to know if you're informed, because you said you vote locally. Who are your two senators in South Carolina?
Okay, let's say Clay. The question was, did you lose friends? Because you want to discredit my argument because you know what I'm saying is factual.
Brother, I'm not discrediting your argument, because you said you vote locally, so I'm trying to understand more where you're coming from. You've said you've lost Democratic friends because of your policies, but you don't know if the anti-lynching bill is passed, and you don't know your two senators. So I want you to be informed. Your two senators are Senator Tim Scott and Senator Lindsey Graham, one of the most prominent senators in the country. So it doesn't appear that you're informed. So I just wanted to know the narrative with which you're coming from. You don't have to be defensive, but it is heartbreaking when I have folks calling in, this has happened more than once, who don't know their senators. And it's kind of heartbreaking. And you're in South Carolina, where it's so important to vote, even presidential-wise. Even there are so many black folks in South Carolina, and it's so important for you to vote in South Carolina for your senators. So you actually have power. Oh, good God. Are you a supporter of Trump?
No.
You're not. So who are you supporting? Did you vote in the last election?
I'm not a supporter of Biden either.
Did you vote in the last election?
I voted locally. I did not vote presidential.
Oh, so you didn't vote. So, that's probably. I do know people in my life who don't vote, but that's probably. So you think Biden and Trump are the same?
I think they represent the same. They represent the same people, the same power, which is not the American people. I do. So
you don't think there is a difference between a Republican administration and a Democrat administration? You think it's the lesser of the two evils, that all of that?
No, I think they serve different purposes. They're not the same, but the purposes that they serve are not to our benefit, the people, the common day people on the street. I do believe that.
So therefore you don't vote?
I do believe that.
You don't vote nationally?
I didn't say I didn't vote.
You don't vote nationally?
I don't vote for presidents.
You don't vote for presidents? Okay. I would push back that they are the same. I think that we've seen, I can go through a long list of legislation from Democrats and legislation from Republicans. So do you not vote for your senator or your House of Representatives either? Do you not vote in Congress?
I can go through a long list of legislation as well, but I still see like the anti-lynching law. Isn't that a law?
What do you mean? What's your question?
The anti-lynching legislation that was passed. Didn't they pass that?
Did they pass it? You don't sound very informed, brother. You don't know if they passed it?
I do know they did. But I do know that it's not stopping white people from killing black people.
Well, I mean, that you can't stop anybody from killing anybody. You have to have consequences. If you think your life is better off under a Trump presidency, then hooray for you. But I'm here to tell you that Trump, by the very people who worked in his administration, they say he's a racist. But what I want you to do, Ray, is I want you to hold the people in Georgia accountable. I want you to hold your Secretary of State accountable. I want you to hold Senator Warnock and John Ossoff, that's your other senator in Georgia, accountable. I want you to hold Brian Kemp accountable. So that's what I would ask of you to do. But you don't sound very informed, and now I'm getting a lot of callers calling in, kind of laughing at you, because you don't sound very informed. But I'm a really nice guy. I'm a real nice guy. I'm going to give you one more final comment before we go to break. Go ahead.
All right, real quick, man, because you won't let me say that. But like I said, Biden passed, so that if you look at what the Democrat Party come from, we are the Democrats. They start off as the KKK.
Wrong. Sorry, got to interrupt you again. The Democratic Party they're not the founders of the KKK. Not true. That was the thing called the Confederacy. Reuters and the Associated Press have debunked. Please find the article, y'all. Did the Democratic Party were they founded? Was the Klan founded by the KKK? No, it's not. It was founded by former Confederates. Did you have people a part of the KKK in the Democratic Party? Yes, you certainly did. Why? If you're still listening, Ray, brief history lesson. In the 1860s, in the 1850s, the Democratic Party was the party of racism because it was about region. So the party that was the most racist had control over the South. Understand, Ray? And our first Republican president was a guy named Abraham Lincoln, who was also a stone cold racist. But then as Abraham Lincoln gets assassinated, we have other folks get into office. By 1877, the Republican Party also turns on on black folks with this thing called a contested election. And they decide to leave the Negro problem in the South. When the Democratic Party began to become more progressive, the Republican Party, the racist faction, said, let's take over the South with this thing called the Southern Strategy. So it really isn't about the D or the R, it's about region. And you, Ray, as a black man in Georgia, it is a disservice that you aren't aware of that. If the Republican Party is so fabulous and so not racist, why have they only had 2 black senators?
Hate crime if you attack an Asian. Is that correct?
Well, no, your brother, you're totally incorrect. What was passed, and he didn't pass it, it went through Congress. It was called the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act. And there were Asian members of Congress who submitted that policy. And all it did is it expedited citing and documenting hate crimes in the Department of Justice. It was not specific for black people. I'm sorry, for Asian people. It wasn't at all. So I'm going to give you one more try. Actually, let me ask you this, and I'm assuming you know this. It's a national story. Ray, who are your two senators in Georgia?
My two senators in Georgia besides Warnock?
Yeah, give me your two senators.
Warnock and I can't even think of the other guy. I can't even think of the other guy's name that ran with him. But okay. You have Warnock, and then you have the other guy, and you have Kemp here, who was governor. Kemp
and your other senator is John Ossoff. So if you're in a state like Georgia, Ray, you have a Republican-controlled state legislator. And I'm kind of mortified you're saying that Biden is so much of a racist, but you're not looking to Governor Brian Kemp, who has given little to no contracts to black businesses. So I don't know, brother. It doesn't really sound like you're informed. But if that's what you believe, I mean, it just doesn't sound like you're very informed on look like. Because let me tell you something, Ray. If Biden was the racist, he'd have a lot more support among white Republicans. He truly, truly would. They've literally called Biden a commie. They've called him an activist president. They've said he's part of the radical left. They said he only cares about black people and not cops. So, yeah. But one more final comment, Ray. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. Let me just get a quick word here, because you just said me all the way down from, I mean, because, you know, I know I'm not just voting Democrat. That's what's wrong. We just vote Democrat. And if we go with Democrat,
Ray, let me tell you where you messed up. This is your first time listening to the show, and you called into the show, and you were giving accusations of racism about somebody, and you couldn't back it up. Now, if I want to say how Trump is a racist, I could go for the next 30 minutes, from policy to rhetoric. So the rules of engagement here is that as the host of this show, I have to stop the lie. So where you are putting out misinformation, like you said about the Chinese bill, that's the first time I heard it called the Chinese. And I also say, vote out those old guard Democrats who aren't doing anything, and put in new people, or at least put in folks who are passionate, like a Maxine Waters, or put in folks that will push policy, like Senator Warnock's policy for debt relief for black farmers, that I'm assuming you don't know about. But above anything, if you aren't informed, brother, if you don't know who your enemy is, Todd Young and Mike Braun, you got a long road. Let's go to Ray from Georgia. What's up, Ray?
Hey, how you doing, Clay?
Good.
Hey, I'm a first time listener, but you know, when elections happened, the last presidential election with Trump, I was one of the ones like, get Trump out of there. I can understand where Ice Cube and Kanye and them was coming from, but looking at it, man, we got a racist up in there, Biden. You know, he's a big. I mean, come on, man, it don't get no worse than that. And what make it more dangerous, he's a hidden racist. I mean,
okay, we got a racist up in there, Biden. It don't get more racist than Biden. How do we have a racist? Tell me policy-wise how President Joe Biden is a racist.
Okay, well, let us start real quick, do a quick recap when he was up in Congress. What did he say? He was one of the ones that came up with the term super predator along with Hillary Clinton and said he didn't want his kids.
No, that's not true. He didn't come up with that term, super predator. If you want to talk about the crime reform bill, we can. But let's talk about currently as president. What about his policies makes Biden more racist than anybody?
Well, I mean, if you, like I said, you look at his past where he said he didn't want his kids going to school with our children. He's pushing that whole narrative.
No, brother, you just made a declarative statement as how racist Biden is as president, because you didn't support Trump. You supported Biden. You didn't support Trump. But now that he's in there, you're like, oh, he's this big old racist. So policy-wise, I want you to tell me, I mean, considering that Biden rather, has had some historic wins for black communities from HBCUs, from the Supreme Court, from an anti-lynching act. I want to know what policies makes Biden so racist.
Let's break this down. He passed for the Chinese, correct? That it's a national crime if it's a racist or not racist.
He has informed in Indiana. Final comment again, because I'm a nice guy.
I just asked you a question, sir. I don't understand why you're doing all this. First off, you're saying that I'm giving out misinformation when all I did was ask you a question. I asked you
and I was answering your question, and I answered your question. And I asked you a question, and you couldn't even name who your two senators are. So I'll give you one more question to ask me. Go ahead.
Sir, can I expand? Can I expand?
No, this is my show. You are not going to colonize my show on Columbus Day. Now I'm going to give you one more time to ask your question. Go ahead, ask your question.
You think that the government is the only way for change,
ask
man?
the question.
That's ridiculous.
Not a comment. Ask your question. Ask your question, Marco.
In the first place, man. You wanted to trust that?
Marco, I don't think you have a question. I'm going to give you one more time. Here's how you do. I'm going to let your next statement end with a question mark. Go for it.
My next statement end with a question mark. Okay. Sir, would you not find that stopping the participation in the system that is oppressing us, would you not think that stopping the participation in the oppressive system would probably help the people in the way that we can work and circumnavigate that system?
No. I'm answering your question. Stopping the participation in the system. See, part of the problem is, Marco, so many people are already not participating. That's why they're able to not take us seriously. When you have voter turnout during the midterms going under 50%, that's not participating. When you have white voter turnout, for example, always cracking 70%, that's what you call participating. So I think you believe that everybody is so deeply involved in participating. When you call into a political talk radio show and you don't even know who your two senators are who are advocating against you, that's not participating. So what I say is do like in 1867, we had 80% black voter turnout in 1867. We can't even get that today. So I say be involved locally, nationally. I say go to a city council meeting. I say make sure you are as participating as possible, because that is their hope that you don't participate. And if you don't want to be in this quote-unquote system, I don't know where you're going to go, brother. Maybe you have a lot more money and resources than me. If you want to trek and go somewhere else, you could do that. But guess what? White supremacy is a contagion all over this country. It's in Ghana. It's in Liberia. It's in Guyana. It's in Barbados. It's in Haiti. So I say we participate. We can have activists on the ground. We can have people in Congress. But Marco, since you're asking about politicians, let me just ask you. You're in Indianapolis, Indiana. Who are your two senators?
My two senators? We have Holcomb, right? I forget how to say his name. I mean, if the question is, how knowledgeable
Marco, who are your two? Because you're asking about politicians. I want to know who your two senators are.
I don't know the senators. Let me explain.
But Marco, that's the problem. It's Ted Young and Mike Braun, two Republicans in Indiana. And I could go into detail the kind of policies that Todd Young and Mike Braun have pushed, and you don't know. And you're calling in wanting details about what politicians aren't doing, and you don't even know who your two senators are, brother. That's an issue. That's an issue, man. That's what I'm saying. You should look to what Mike Braun and Todd Young are doing in Indiana. You should look to that. How they did not support the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. How they did not support the George Floyd Policing Act. How they have been outraged over President Biden's executive orders specifically for black people like HBCUs. That's a problem, brother. Final comment.
Okay, yeah. So I heard your point. So let me expand upon mine. Okay, because your point, the point that you're driving home, is the point that a lot of people are driving home. It's the public opinion, and I'm with you, and I hear what you're saying. I hear your sentiment. First off, history lesson: Abraham Lincoln did not do anything that benefited black people. All Abraham
I know
Lincoln
that.
did,
I know that he was forced into glory. I know that. It was because of we would not have a win to the Civil War if it wasn't for enslaved people. But that, nonetheless, Frederick Douglass still had knowledge enough to know that I must force this white supremacist to go where I want him to go. Because the Democratic Party at the time did not want to end slavery, and Lincoln's trifling ass wanted gradual abolition. He was forced into glory. I know that. But Marco, I'm gonna let you go because you embarrassed me. So actually, I'm gonna give you one more comment. You don't sound informed, brother. You don't sound informed, Marco.
you don't want me to be heard, man. That's crazy, man. Listen,
Marco,
man, it's very
Marco, if you were listening to my show, I said interrupt the lie, and you have put out incorrect information, and you don't even know who your two senators are. So you should concede right now in this moment, yo, I should take a break. I may not be as informed. Let's go to Marco from Indianapolis, first-time caller. What's up, Marco?
I never heard that one before, but thank you so much for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. Taking the time out. Yeah. So I have a question. Just to start, I just have a question, and it's just pure curiosity, and I'm hoping maybe you could educate me. Could you tell me which politician did anything that benefited black people?
Which politician that did anything that benefited black people? That's a loaded question. So when you say which politician, where? I mean, what do you? That's such a loaded question. What area of the country are we talking about? Are you asking for any politician currently?
Talking about a significant change. See, we can point to. See, my thing is that when I look at the history of the United States and the changes that were made in the United States, all of the changes were made by activists, people who were, you know, they were working with their community and working against the government despite the government.
Oh, Marco, that's not true at all, brother. That's not true at all. I mean, I don't know if you've heard the famous line, Abraham Lincoln had the power. I'm sorry, Abraham Lincoln had the position, but Frederick Douglass had the power. I mean, that is not true at all. You had activists holding politicians accountable to make sure that policy is passed. So that is just categorically not true at all. You don't have activists just I mean, you have to have government involved. I mean, government rules our lives. If you don't do politics, politics will do you. So there have been several pieces of legislation, at least in my lifetime, that I can point to that has had an impact on black communities. Has it erased Jim Crow? Has it erased our history? Absolutely not. But there have been several. That's the first 2 weeks of Biden being in office. We can also look at the Affordable Care Act, which Republicans have been trying to fight back for years, even though they have no health care plan. But the Affordable Care Act specifically gave black folks disproportionately access to health care. And as we all know, not having health care in our communities is hurts our communities, because sadly we're disproportionately impacted by diabetes. We're impacted by heart disease. When you bring up something like welfare or social services, I would have to think you'd be a big fan of President Clinton. Why? Because President Clinton had the 1996 Welfare Reform Act, which kicked millions and millions of people off of welfare. So I would think you'd love Clinton for that, because he literally slashed social services. He literally managed to just cut it right in half. So there's a bit of some of the things that have happened. I mean, I can also go to the child income tax credit that brought black poverty down 50%, but Republicans decided to block it. I can also look at the infrastructure bill under Biden, which gives tons and tons of money to black communities. Again, not perfect, but I can give you this list of what Democrats have done, and they should do more, and we should hold them accountable, especially in a Democratic blue state like Illinois, and knowing who our senators are. We really should be able to hold them accountable. But you can't make an ask when you don't even know who represents you. So do I want more from Democrats? Absolutely, without a doubt. I want more from Democrats. But right now, the GOP is the party. You know, you can get caught up in LGBT people, you can get caught up in abortion, whatever you think of that, even though I assume you aren't gay and I assume you aren't a woman. But look at their policies when it comes to tax cuts for the rich. Look at their policies when it comes to basically what we just talked about. So let's just start there. For a long time, a lot of black folks were Republican, but they were pushed out of this party because the Republican Party wanted to rely on what was called the Southern Strategy. And the architect of that is Barry Goldwater, who is a former senator of Arizona, is Richard Nixon. What is the Southern Strategy? Is to play on the fears of white people to get the white racist vote, especially in the South, because Democrats were losing the white racist vote because of their policies that were pro-civil rights, not just black folks, but pro-civil rights in general. And this is before LGBT or even abortion. Now, I know you hate the gays, you hate women who have to get an abortion, but this is before all that. So let's just start there. So in the 1960s, we have these key pieces of policy: voting rights, fair housing, and that big thing called the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which the GOP has been fighting constantly to really gut that down, especially this thing called the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And let's look. Let's go at an overall look as far as what Democrats have done. And now, Chris, I want to be clear about this. I don't think Democrats are perfect whatsoever. There's a lot of work to be done. But let's talk about the two parties in general. The Republican Party in the House, they have 4 black folks who are Republican. 4. And up until January, they only had 2. The Democratic Party has over 50. And they do markedly different work in black communities than what Wesley Hunt does in Texas, than what Byron Donalds does in Florida, than what Burgess Owens does in Texas. No, I'm sorry, Burgess Owens, Utah, forgive me. They do markedly different work. But if I want to give you some key things as far as key policy points that the Democratic Party has done for black communities, I could go to hate crimes bills that date back to the 60s. You have several in the 1990s. You have the John Byrd Hate Crimes Act, I believe in 2008. Jamesburg, thank you. In 2008, you talk about the National Task Force on Policing under Obama. You talk about President Clinton giving a historic amount of money to HBCUs when he was president. Obama doing the same thing in his second term, giving a historic amount of money to HBCUs. And of course, I think HBCUs, it's important. You have black poverty going down for the first time since 1968 under the Obama administration. Obama also slashed the black unemployment rate in half because it skyrocketed under the Bush administration.
Yeah, I believe that the government should be more hands-off.
Well, wait a minute. If you believe the government should be more hands-off, then why would you want the government in a woman's uterus?
Well, I don't, but I think that abortion is wrong. That's just my personal opinion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can have that opinion, but do you want government in a woman's uterus? Because Roe v. Wade is about the right to privacy. Is that what you want? Do you want government in a woman's uterus in the doctor's office with her medical professional?
Only because there's a life involved. That's the only reason.
Okay, well, you just had a contradiction. You just contradicted yourself. But nonetheless, what have Republicans done for the black community?
As a whole, I'm not sure, but I do think that, at least from my limited knowledge, I think that the Republican Party is more about accountability and less about helping out, per se.
How are they? Oh, you mean Republicans want to cut Social Security and disability, and that makes them more about accountability versus helping? So you think that helps the black community? Is that what you think?
Well, and yes, and I want to say also, it's only because I don't subscribe to the victim mentality that I see a lot of people who look like me, friends included, even family members. I don't subscribe to
I'm a victim of anything. I subscribe.
Well, Chris, I don't know. I don't feel like black folks have been lifting up this country for decades. I think it's quite disrespectful that you think people who look like you subscribe to the victim mentality. That's kind of striking to me. I mean, black folks from the start have been lifting up and holding up this economy, for a very, very long time. Yeah. So let me answer your question. So much to go for. So let's just start here. Let's quote Senator Edward Brooke of Massachusetts, the first black senator to be elected, that black people were evicted. He was a Republican as well, evicted from the Republican Party in the 1950s and 1960s. The Republican Party did not want black people. They were angered with the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the 1965 Voting Rights Act, the 1968 Fair Housing Act, and so they kicked black Republicans out of the party. Jackie Robinson, an iconic black Republican, talked about this. Again, Senator Edward Brooke talked about this. Local Republican leaders in Georgia, Mississippi, and so on, they were evicted out of the party because they said this is a white man's party. When you don't even know the two people who represent you in the United States Senate. I mean, just how do you call into a political talk radio show and ask this kind of question? And I can give you the long list. I can give you the history of the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, but you have to start with knowing. So I'm assuming you've never called your senators. I don't know if you know who your governor is. I don't know if you know who your lieutenant governor is. I don't know if you know how Congress works, but how can you make this demand when you don't even know who to ask? We got to do better. We got to do better. Because if we don't know who to ask, then it's hard to hold people accountable. You hear me, Chris?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I don't think you can hear me.
No, I said, do you hear me? Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I understand. I understand where you're coming from. Absolutely.
Okay. Now you're asking me, what have Democrats specifically done for the black community? Is that what you're asking me?
I was asking, what have they done that they continually deserve our vote? That's what I was asking.
Okay, I'm doing a bit of a rerun here, but let me ask you a question. What have Republicans done for your vote?
Well, as someone who doesn't fit the mold, per se, of some of the conservative ideals that I believe in, for example, I believe in abortion. I believe in gun rights in the Second Amendment. I believe in...
Wait. You said you believe in abortion, so you believe women should have the right to privacy with their medical professional?
No, I'm sorry. I said that backwards. My apologies. I don't believe in abortion.
Sure.
I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in... I don't believe in... the LGBT movement. I don't, so certain things.
So you don't believe in women having the right for autonomy over their own body. You don't believe in LGBT movement. Not sure what that means. And you believe in the Second Amendment. Well, I don't know any Democrats who don't believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in everybody minding their business. Yeah, brother. I want us to hold people accountable and know how they can be held accountable and know who we should hold accountable. Respectfully, Chris. Let's go to Chris from Illinois. What's up, Chris?
Hey, how's it going? Long-time listener, or at least subscriber to Sirius XM for the purposes of listening to the Urban View. 42-year-old black male living just outside of Chicago, and I had a general question about, in your opinion, why do you think that the Democratic Party still deserves the black vote? And I want to kind of preface that real quick and be mindful of time, obviously, but as someone who's 42 years old, I've always voted Democratic, and I'll be honest, and I think a lot more people probably are fall into this camp. I voted out of ignorance a lot of the time, and I think a lot of the time my vote was because whether it was my grandparents, parents, voted for the Democratic Party because that's who blacks voted for. And if you're a racist, and if you're white or affluent, or had status, then you voted for the Republican Party. And I know that's ignorant at best on the surface, but I just wanted to get your take on why do you think the Democratic Party still deserves the black vote? And I'll listen, or I'll stay on the line and answer some from you.
Chris, you live in Illinois?
Yes.
Great. Easy question for you, and I'm sure you know the answer to it. Who are your two senators?
I don't know. Is it Dick Durbin still a senator? I don't know.
Chris? It's Tammy Duckworth and Dick Durbin. I'm glad you eventually got Dick Durbin, but let's start with you. Or what they should do for you, or what they haven't done for you, and you don't even know who your two senators are. That's a problem, brother. That's really a big problem. Oh my God, good God Almighty.